Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Pritchard with the Office of Information Technology. In today's hybrid campus video, I have with me Jabby Abraham, who is the manager of our labs on campus, and Brian Sherwood, who's the assistant manager for Help Desk. Both of them employ a large number of student employees, and so they're going to share with us their expertise in how you manage a large team remotely. So I know that you both have a big student employee base. Jabby, would you mind sharing how many students you currently have employed?
Yeah, sure. We typically have around 25 to 30 student employees. And this past year during the pandemic, we obviously reduced a little bit of our staff, but we're building it back up for the start of the fall semester.
And Brian?
Yeah, we employed throughout most of the remote work about 30 student employees, but we're also ramping back up for the fall, and we'll end up with about 50 here in the fall.
That's incredible. So I think between both of you combined, we probably have more student employees in our department than most other areas on campus. So it's kind of a good sampling of how to manage that type of number of employees, whether they're students or full-time staff. I know that the support that we offer can't always be done virtually. Although both of you were able to shift a significant amount of support virtually due to the pandemic. How did you prepare your staff that were on campus, and what standards needed to change while they were there?
Yeah, so when we first moved remote along with the rest of the campus, it was kind of a fast and furious effort to get everyone prepared. As a lot of campus did, not only were we moving all of our student employees remote very quickly, but of course that was a very busy week for us as the rest of campus transitioned remotely as well. And it's been definitely an ongoing, evolving process of setting new expectations of what does work look like when you're working from home? How do we how do we verify that our staff is online and ready to work at the time that they're supposed to be working? And as we kind of transition back to a hybrid environment now going into the fall, it's even more important to know where everyone is and kind of making sure who is on campus versus who is still working from home. So.
Yeah, and that's very similar to what we went through when the pandemic first began. It was originally an extended spring break, and we just reduced our hours, and we're still in our extended spring break. But we, it flipped our operations upside down. So we had to kind of reinvent what we do. We're used to having students come here to the lab and get help in the lab. Our student employees were trained to help people in person. But we had to flip that, and we had a lot of sessions to help people with email, through Sharewell tickets, things like that, and our employees adapted very well. Now we did have to lay out, new procedures and have students check in virtually to see what the day's list of duties are, but it worked out pretty well. It's to the credit of our student employees that they were able to adapt so quickly.
Yeah, I've always been impressed with our students and how versatile they are in every situation, and this one is certainly unique. I know that with the amount of students that you have, just such high numbers, it's got to be a challenge to schedule. I know for me personally, I can barely keep up with my own schedule, let alone having people come on and off campus. So how do you balance that constant shifting of students' schedules, and how are they able to submit their schedules to you so that you could know where everyone is at any given time? Brian, do you want to start?
Sure, yeah. So we use kind of a combination of tools. Our primary scheduling tool is a third-party application, but we do collect availability information and ask our students to submit information about, how many classes are they taking, how many hours are they hoping to work. We use Microsoft Forms to do that. We rely pretty heavily on Teams to communicate. We have been doing that, obviously, in the last year and a half or so. It's our primary way of communicating with our students. So we'll ask them to submit availability information, and then we actually schedule by the semester. So we'll set a repeating schedule for for the fall semester. We're in the process of doing that now, and we really rely on teams to make sure that we're getting the most up-to-date information so that we're setting our students up for success and setting our customers up for success, so someone's there to answer the phone when they call.
Yeah, and we adopted a lot of those similar methods through Teams and Office 365 in general. There is an app called Shifts, and we've been using that to schedule our student employees. And with Shifts, we're able to, provide some shifts throughout the day, like a 7:30 a.m. shift or a 12 p.m. shift or an evening shift. And the students were allowed to pick the shifts that they're able to work. And during the pandemic, we didn't want to force anybody to come to work while, they may not feel well or something may be going on. So we let them choose which shifts that they can come in and work. It's worked out well for the most part. Now we're going back to regular opening procedures, and we're treating the fall as a regular pre-pandemic type of semester where we're scheduling students ahead of time, and they'll have a set schedule throughout the week. And that does take a lot more effort. We're asking them for their class schedule and preferences, making sure that we don't schedule them for work during a class. So Shifts has been a useful tool for helping us schedule the students.
Awesome. I love how you're both looking at different tools to kind of optimize that employee experience so that it can be customized based on what their needs are. I would imagine, in addition to scheduling, another a beast, a burden that would be a challenge to overcome would be interviewing students. Because we've had to ramp up with getting back on campus and offering additional support. I know both of you have been hiring an extensive number. So were there any Microsoft products that were helpful in scheduling those interviews or preparing you for just being able to question that large group? And how did your process for interviewing candidates have to change to accommodate the social distancing? Jabby, do you want to start?
Yeah, and that transition was, we were wondering the same thing. How are we going to interview student employees now? And Teams has been great. We've been interviewing students virtually through Teams and scheduling interviews through another app called Bookings. It's part of the Office 365 suite, I believe. But Bookings has helped us schedule students for interviews, and we've been using it extensively for other events, like scheduling students to pick up devices, loaner devices, or scheduling students for tests that they need to take care in the lab. That's been very helpful for us in setting up interviews. And honestly, I feel like it's easier than doing in-person interviews. We don't have to give anyone directions on how to get here. They'll eventually learn how to get here, but for the interview process, we wouldn't have to direct them how to get here. Just log into a Teams meeting and we'll conduct the interview there. It seems like it's more comfortable for both parties, and we can interview more people from outside of the state, outside of the country. We've interviewed people from around the world, and it's pretty amazing to me. So that wouldn't be possible with in-person interviews.
Yeah, and I would agree. We use a lot of the same tools. We've also leveraged, although not a Microsoft product, the Student Employment Office provides a tool called Interview Stream that allows us to have students asynchronously complete a video recorded interview. We use that for our initial screening process. And then we also use Bookings and Teams meetings. It's been, like Jabby, excellent to be able to appeal more broadly to all of our UTD students, even those that maybe are not here in the US yet. And we've interviewed people in India, in the middle of the night for them, or late in the evening for them, early for us. And it's just really great because it allows us to make sure that our staff, and I think Jabby and I both feel this is really important, make sure our staff represents the UTD community, represents what the student population looks like. And the ability to do this remotely and manage being able to interview people remotely has been huge, especially in the last few months as we've ramped up.
Well, that's incredible to hear that you're able to enhance the diversity of your team, even though you have what would seem like a restraint of not being able to meet in person, that these tools have allowed you to reach even more people and to bring in that diversity of knowledge and just growing your team by such a large group. I know that in addition to interviewing and scheduling, and now you've got all these employees hired, now you have to communicate with all of them. And communications have changed, where you might have posted an update on a whiteboard or left a note or said something in passing. The typical updates in person have shifted. So what were some of the tools or techniques that you use to keep your employees engaged and informed of any updates that they needed to know?
Yeah, we heavily rely on Teams to do that. We actually have set up in Teams multiple channels inside of our team with our students, one of which is an announcements channel. So our goal is that if something is important enough that everyone in the office needs to see it when they start their next shift, or if there's an action required of one of our students, that it's going to be posted in that announcements channel so they know they only have one place to go. We also use things heavily like forms when we're collecting information from our students. It seems like we're always collecting some new piece of information, whether it be an HR requirement or planning for an upcoming schedule or something to that effect. We also rely on forms to do things like our opening checklist and our closing checklist, making sure that all of our services are operational at opening and at closing. And we use even Microsoft Flow to Power Automate to automate some of that messaging and making sure that our staff is completing those on time. So we really leverage a lot of the different services inside of Teams and try to avoid email as much as we can because we found that our students are not as responsive that way.
And Javi?
Yeah, very similar to what Brian just mentioned. We also incorporate Teams channels. So we have different channels for different categories or different subjects that we're dealing with here. We have one for, just issues that students may be bringing up, that any student can chat on the channel and say, hey, I've got this problem. I've got a student here looking for help. And any one of us can respond and help with that problem. So that's been fantastic, being able to separate channels. And a lot of it is, we do have a lot of student employees, and so they like to have fun. And Teams has some built-in fun stuff like GIFs and other things that you can post that kind of keep the conversation a little more lively. And I think for us, our student employees, well, I like to think that they like to check in and see what's going on. And so they have an app on their phone, they have an app on their computer that they can log into quickly and check their notifications and just see what's happening any day, any time of the day.
And I know you've both mentioned, I love how you use the Teams platform and customize those channels by content and information so that if they're searching for a particular topic or need an additional resource, you've got it all categorized for them. So that they can quickly gather that. So my final question to you is more about the student response to this change that we've had to have this past year and a half. So what surprised you the most about how students responded to all of these new processes, all of these new procedures that had to go into place? Were they receptive? And did you get any feedback from them on how they were feeling about the changes?
Well, for our part, I think definitely this past year, year and a half has been stressful on all of our employees and our student employees also, and a lot of them have gone through some tough times. But this is the community here at UTD has helped, and I think that they have adapted very well to the conditions as best as they could. And for the most part, I think they enjoy being a part of the team here and being able to communicate through Teams, I think has been great for their, stress levels and for creating a community atmosphere and just helping them cope and get through this year. And I think we're going to be continuing this even when we fully open. We'll be utilizing a combination of Teams. Now we are open in person now, and we We are open to students, faculty, staff. They can walk in anytime, and that also helps our student employees when they get that interaction with people. But Teams provides that interaction constantly throughout the day when we're chatting with them. And so I think that's been a great help for us.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, our students have been at every turn of the last year and a half very flexible. I mentioned, March was one of those first few weeks were one of our busiest few weeks we've ever had, just because everybody was working remotely. And man, our students just rolled with it. They had a whole new set of processes, a whole new set of procedures. They were working from home, maybe on not the best internet that they were used to. And they've just rolled with it at every turn. And as Javi was talking there, I was kind of just thinking back about the last 18 months. And we also had the winter storms in February. Students had to roll with that too. It's just been kind of one thing after another. And I think, we are definitely stronger now because of all of that. But it's because our students were able to be so flexible. And for our part, we're continuing to keep our phone and chat operations remote. So our students are going to be able to continue to work from home or another location of their choosing. We'll have some spots on campus for them to work as well, with some in-person work with the launch of the technology bar that's coming up here in just about a month or so. So we'll have a kind of a hybrid approach there in terms of our student scheduling. But I think, we've really seen the benefit of allowing our students to work from home. It helps our schedule be more flexible. It helps us provide better support to the university community. And although it's been kind of a roller coaster of a year, I think we're stronger at the end because of it. So.
No, I agree completely. I think the resiliency of our campus as a whole has just been a remarkable thing to watch. And especially, as you both mentioned, just the students' versatility to be able to meet any challenge. But I also think it speaks a lot to both of your leadership and your heart and your passion for serving students. I think it's just evident in just how you've described your processes and procedures that you truly care and you want to make things as easy on them as possible while providing that high caliber of support. So I just want to thank you both for sharing your expertise and your knowledge of going through this process with the rest of campus, so that hopefully we can learn from it, continue to build from it, and continue to provide that high caliber of service.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we couldn't have done it without the employees and the student employees. I mean, they've just been amazing. We have a great group of students here at UTD, and proud to be working with them.
Agreed. And we love bragging on them. So thanks, Amanda, for the conversation.
All right. Y'all take care.
Thanks.
You too. Thank you.